Well, the numbers of children who are diagnosed with anxiety have skyrocketed in recent years, and it's become almost like a proud badge of honour. But are we putting the anxiety label on children too quickly? To some degree, every child will go through childhood and teenage years with feelings of apprehension over difficult situations they encounter. However, there are concerns parents and stressed teachers are handling these situations the wrong way, ultimately leading children to believe they have lifelong anxiety. And egged on by social media influencers, young Australians increasingly see it as a badge of honour among their peers. Experts are pleading with parents to trust their gut and stop catastrophising the chances of their child has serious mental health problems. Clinical psychologist Dr. Danielle Einstein has co-written a book titled Raising Anxiety, Why Our Good Intentions Are Backfiring on Children. I think the title of the book speaks for itself, and I'm pleased to say the clinical psychologist joins me on the line. Dr. Einstein, good morning to you.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I thought we'd just basically start off with a very simple explanation. What is anxiety? Can you explain it for us?
Yeah, so we all experience anxiety, and what it shows us is that there's something important that's about to happen, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen. So there's uncertainty in it. So when there's something important and I'm uncertain about whether I'm going to go well, whether I can run that cross-country race, for example, to the end, whether I'm going to go last, maybe it's important for me to come first, or maybe it's important for me not to embarrass myself, then I will feel anxious before that cross-country race, for example. So it's really a normal feeling that we have when there's something important and there's uncertainty involved in it.
Gotcha. Right. So, and that leads us to sort of kids and children. And, you know, if I go back to my childhood, there were difficulties in the playground. You know, if I was picked on or if I had a test coming up, you get a little bit stressed. You might feel like you're getting worked up into a bit of a state. Is that anxiety, or is that just the normal feelings that you get as a kid when you're under a bit of pressure?
It's both. It's both. And it can become worse. And really, that depends a lot on how we respond to it. And that's where social media and parents and teachers are important in terms of us recognising that anxiety is normal, that it's okay, that it's not going to hurt us, and that we can still, for example, go in that cross-country race, even if we come last.
So how do we differentiate between what is serious and what needs professional treatment and what is just those normal struggles a child goes through?
Well, I think the really important point here is to understand what makes anxiety worse and what gets you stuck in a trap where anxiety becomes an anxiety disorder. And the key is actually avoidance. So if you don't go in that cross-country race, or you don't sit the exam, or you don't, do the speech to the classroom teacher, that you are avoiding something that you think is too hard for you or that you're not going to do well at. And once you start in that cycle of avoidance, you start to not realise that actually you could have done it. Okay, maybe you might not have gone brilliantly at it, but you could have done it, you would have gotten through it, and the anxiety was not going to hurt you. And really importantly, you didn't need help.
Okay. So in your dealings with children, with parents, with teachers, are you finding that children are wearing anxiety, this badge, as a badge of honour, having anxiety or not?
Yeah. Yes. So we've almost entered this world where we're very good at raising awareness of mental health diagnoses and disorders and giving the labels out and helping people feel it's normal to share. And it is a good thing to share.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting it's not a good thing to share. But what's important is after we share and after we recognise what's going on, it's what do we do next? Okay? Do we say, okay, I'm feeling anxious, therefore this means it's important to me, I need to work harder at it. I need to put lots and lots of practice in before I sit the piano exam, right? Or before I go in that cross-country race. Maybe I'll go and have a look at the race. Maybe I'll do a part of the track. Maybe, and in treatment of anxiety, I'm often giving people exercises to make their anxiety worse. So, and they're breathing exercises that actually make them feel more anxious, not less anxious, and then I make them go and do the practice examples for the test exam or go in the cross-country race. So what's important is that you show a person that they can beat their anxiety.
So what sort of a role do the parents need to play in this? Because, there'll be people listening saying, oh, Mark, there's too much hand-holding these days. Kids need to be taught to be a little bit tougher. I don't like using the term, toughen up, because I remember as a kid, my dad used to whack me over there and say, come on, toughen up, son, get out there and have a crack. But what's your advice to parents, and do they need to take some responsibility here?
Yeah, we need to understand the balance between recognising that things are hard and giving a little bit of time and normalising that they were hard and that you don't need to be good at everything, and encouraging a child, though, that they do need to do it anyway. And one of the big problems that's come up in the last 2 years, of course, is that when a child isn't going in the cross-country race or they're having a mental health day at home, is, of course, they're often on their devices. So they're not really suffering. They're not really missing out and finding that they wish they'd really gone to do that cross-country race or to sit the exam. Unfortunately, we're compensating. We're stepping in to make everyone feel good all the time or not to feel like they're at a disadvantage. And unfortunately, that tips the balance. We want anyone who's experienced anxiety to realise that they could have done it. Actually, okay, they might have come third last in that race, but they made a new friend because someone else was coming fourth last who they didn't know that well before, or someone else was kind to them when they tripped over. So actually, we don't always need to know what the outcome is, and it doesn't always need to be a good outcome. But what's really important is that we participate and we push ourselves to do the activities that make us feel anxious.
Yep, I find it really, really interesting. I was looking at some figures this morning, Dr. Tu. In 2003, more than 1 in 7 of nearly 70,000 students sitting the HSC in New South Wales were granted some form of special assistance in their final exams, with 8,000 rest breaks for anxiety or concentration issues. That's an awful lot of 17 and 18-year-olds granted special exemptions for feeling stressed about an exam. And it probably prompts the question, and there'll be people listening to us going, geez, have we taken the anxiety thing too far? What's your response to that?
Well, it's interesting because Dr. Locke and I have been working with schools on anxiety and trying to turn this whole problem around. And what we found when we talk to the teachers is that they say that when a child's been given an anxiety diagnosis, let's say in year 8, and they're now sitting in a special room to do their exams from year 8, that those children are not actually moving out of the special rooms by year 12. And that's actually not right for anxiety treatment. Anxiety is very, very treatable. So even if they were to be in a special room for, 2 months, they should be moving out of that if anxiety treatment is working. Because really, in fact, I wouldn't even put them in the special room to start off with them. I would have them going to school early, doing extra exams before school, like I said before, with breathing exercises to make their anxiety worse, learning that they can still concentrate when they feel anxious, learning that it doesn't hurt them as much as they think it does. Maybe they don't get quite as good a mark, but the more they do it, the more it no longer affects them, and they no longer become scared of feeling anxious in the exam.
Yeah. And
that's what we've got to do. It's about facing the fear.
And I think that's really important advice too, because, if you're struggling in school, it's only going to get worse when you get out into the big wide world. And, there's pressures that come with everyday life. When you have kids, you've got to support them. You've got to pay bills. You've got to get the car served. All the different things that to add to the stress levels that people go through on a daily basis. So that's where we need to prepare kids for the big wide world when they leave school.
Yeah, that's right. And one of the issues, of course, is the moment someone's feeling anxious or the way that we now can communicate with people we love immediately. The problem is we share that anxiety. Someone else might help us escape the problem. So they might send an email straight to the school or get on the phone straight to the school or come and pick the child up from the school straight away because the parent is worried, the parent is anxious. And in fact, everyone has become anxious about anxiety. And that in itself is a community problem that we need to turn it around.
Absolutely. Well, it's food for thought and a really interesting discussion on this Thursday morning. Dr. Einstein, I really appreciate your time and good on you for raising it and trying to make a difference, because it's obviously an issue out there that needs addressing, and we don't want kids to wear anxiety as a badge of honour. If they do have it, they can get treated, but there are also other ways to get over it so you can continue to live a life free of anxiety. You have a good day and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
That's Dr. Danielle Einstein, co-writer of the book titled Raising Anxiety with Our Good Intentions, Backfiring on Children.